Hello from Japan. This is JLab. Today I'm going to talk about how Japanese people messed up their own language. Many people may find Japanese very difficult to learn because it's a unique language and there are so many ways to write Japanese. There is the Hiragana, the Japanese alphabet, the katakana that expresses the words from abroad, and there's the kanji, the Chinese characters. So how did this even happen? Now, Japanese people had already developed their own language from a very long time ago, but there were no letters to write it down. The first letters that the Japanese people decided to use was the Chinese characters from China. However, there was a couple of problems. First, the sounds. Japanese people had already developed their own words and it was completely different from Chinese. The solution they thought of for this was to keep the Chinese sound and added the Japanese word to the same character. Why would they leave the Chinese sounds? That is why for most Chinese characters, there is more than one way to read it. I have suffered so much from these Chinese characters where there are so many different ways to read it. I always misread the word. Let me give you an example. Umareru. This word means being born, but the character has so many ways to read it. Umareru, sei, iku, o, and more. And the confusion doesn't stop there. Not only did the Chinese characters sound different than Japanese, but the Chinese grammar was very different than that of Japanese. Also, Japanese people started to develop their own alphabet during the Heian period, called Hiragana. Now hear me out because this is where Japanese people are crazy. Instead of translating Chinese books to Japanese letters, they decided to keep the original sentences and put codes on it to be able to read them in Japanese grammar order. And this is what the sentences looked like. Chaos, I tell you. So reading one sentence was like undoing a puzzle. In high school, we were taught to read these, and I still don't see the point of those classes. On top of this, depending on the sentence, the end of the word changes form. Therefore, the Japanese reading for the Chinese characters have a okurigana after letters to match the grammar. So it's confusing to know which characters have okurigana after letters. For example, the same letter as before, umareru. U is the kanji and reru is the okurigana after letters. And you think this is confusing enough, but it doesn't end there. There's the katakana. Katakana was made at the same time as hiragana. The only difference is that hiragana was used by women and katakana was used by men. In modern Japanese, most sentences are written with Chinese characters and hiragana. Katakana is now used when the word is foreign or the word expresses a sound effect. I'm pretty sure that Japanese is the only language that decided to make things so complicated. This is why I don't recommend people to learn Japanese. Because just the written language, it is so difficult, and the spoken language is as difficult. Don't get me wrong though, the Japanese language is very beautiful and has so much depth. And reading manga or watching anime in its original language is just so much better and makes so much more sense. And if you live in Japan, it's difficult to get by without learning the language. Because most Japanese people can only speak Japanese. But other than that, I don't think you should bother to learn Japanese. And to those of you who are studying Japanese, good luck. Thank you for watching our video. Please like and subscribe. See you again. Mata ne!